Welcome to the Nick Clason Theological Seminary, or as my new resident recently called it, the NCTS. Now, listen, I'm not actually starting a seminary, but if you are brand new to youth ministry and you're wondering, like this person in this youth pastor Facebook group who said, hey, I am new to youth ministry and I've been out of the youth ministry position for 11 years. So anyone have any new books or resources that will help me with today's youth, ages 9 through 18? At this new position, they've had trouble the last year with getting volunteers, kids showing up, and committing to events. If anyone has any advice on these things, that would help. Thank you and good luck with your ministry. If that's you, or if you're asking a question like that, well then today, you're in the right place, because what I'm actually going to be doing is I'm going to be breaking down 5 must-read youth ministry books paired with 3 video courses, and those 2 things paired together are going to give you a solid foundation for preaching, programming, and discipling students in today's world. Welcome everyone to the Hybrid Ministry Show. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Hybrid Ministry Show. For a quick bit of context, just as a reminder, there are always chapters listed down below. In this episode, I'm breaking down what you should be reading and what you can be using as prep as a new or building a foundation in youth ministry. And this really came to light in recent days. My boss, Darren, who was and it still is a 30-plus year youth ministry veteran, moved on to a different role, and I stepped into his seat, and I inherited a team with a combined less than 1 year of paid professional full-time youth ministry experience. There are 4 of them, but every single one of them has less than a year, and in some cases less than 6 months of paid professional full-time youth ministry experience. They're eager, they're awesome, I love our team, but they're all very young. And so I started kind of thinking through, like, what are some of the things that we should be, that they should know? And what are some of the things that have been foundational to me that I have known? And so in previous years when, Darren was on the team and I was his right-hand man, him and I kind of in tandem led these Lunch and Learn kind of like workshops. And so I went back through and I looked at what we did last year, and then I looked ahead, and I started like thinking, like, what was some of the most core or like foundational things for me growing up? And so this is essentially like my like must-have, go-to like types of things for youth pastors and frankly for people in ministry, because some of these things are not actually only like ministry specific. So there are going to be links to every single one of these listed down below in the description. Make sure that you go check those out. There may be a small affiliate commission, won't change the price for you. Some might not have it. Like, I don't know exactly which ones are which, but you can go ahead and check those out. But the first thing, and so like what I'll do is I'll share here on screen, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll share our like Brunch and Learn schedule. And so we meet once a month for discussion around some of these topics. And now I'm building it and setting it up in this particular way to try and space out some of the obligation and some of the reading that I'm requiring of them. However, so like, you need to understand, like, I'm putting like shorter books after longer books, and then I'm doing a video class in between some books and stuff like that, so that it's not only reading and there's like videos in there. And so that's why I'm breaking it up kind of the way that I'm breaking it up. But like, you can kind of go in any direction, and like depending on the appetite that you may or may not have for learning, that may or may not be better for you. So go ahead and try and kind of like take this with a grain of salt. I'm not saying you have to go in any particular order. I may recommend like a particular order, but you can go in whatever order you want, and I'll explain what each of the books kind of focus on. And so depending on your context, you can kind of grab it in that way. But for us, starting off, we're doing a 50-day devotional study from Sun Life called Knowing Him. And now what is awesome about this book is it's a devotional. So you can like add it and make it a part of just like your daily morning, like quiet time reading. And what it is it's an exploration through the life of Christ in 50 days in chronological order. My senior pastor, and then also like the founder of Sun Life, Dan Spader, and many of the guys kind of in that arena, have sort of found the value in looking at the harmony of the Gospels and the chronological order of life of Jesus. And that's what this 50-day study is kind of built around. And I kid you not, like, I'm not saying this hyperbolically. This is perhaps the most beneficial, like, devotional study that I have ever been through in my life. It's so impactful. So several videos back, linked right up here, talked about my event strategy, the spiritual CPR, and that kind of came from the roots and the foundation of like a Sun Life kind of strategy. And this, knowing him, is really like the core kind of like foundation or like the chronologicalness of it all. And so what's really been cool is my team right now, they're working through this, and one of the guys, he goes, I just kind of assumed, like, I've been through a million Bible studies, I just kind of assumed the questions would be kind of lame and kind of basic. He's like, the study is fantastic, and the questions are really, really making me think. So it's really, really good. And we as our church, we try to position our church and thus our ministry after the chronological nature of Jesus, and follow his blueprint and disciple-making pathway for making leaders. And this devotional really helps get our team into that headspace of doing ministry like Jesus and exploring it through kind of a chronological lens. There's not a great way to buy this, honestly. They have kind of like a print-on-demand sort of deal, and our church doesn't want to pay tax because we're tax exempt, and there wasn't a very easy way for me to figure out how to not do tax, but they do have a completely free ebook version of it. And so if you don't mind the ebook version and then maybe writing down your answers in like a journal, then you can totally go that way, and it's completely free. The next book that I recommend to all of our team as they're communicating is, in my opinion, the best communication resource out there, from one Andy Stanley. And now listen, I know that recently some of his comments and some of his thinking have become a little bit polarizing in the church subculture, but you can't argue that he's not one of the best communicators out there. And so he has a book on communicating for a change that I absolutely love. And so some of our team has already been through that. And so for our Brunch and Learn, I'm taking through two people who have not yet been through that. And we're not only going to read it and discuss it, but then we're also going to workshop like a future message for them in this sort of way that Andy builds out his messages, which is in his kind of famed and patented outline of me, then we, then God, then you, then we. And the sort of thesis for his whole book is drive towards one main point and then tell a story, about you, that's the me, and then broaden it so that it includes everyone, and create this tension, like, this is not only a me problem, but it's a we problem, but here's how God solves it, and here's one thing that you can do as a result of that. And then finally, if we all did this, imagine how the world could be different, or the world could change. It's a really, really good framework, and I basically use it every single time I preach. Next, after that, we are moving into our Youth Ministry University, which we are platinum members at our church. If you're not, you should go check it out on Download Youth Ministry. At least check out Co-Leader, which is an amazing, scope and sequence curriculum. You can use code Hybrid Ministry 10 if you want to get 10% off Co-Leader for the year. But we're using the Programming Like a Pro, which is Justin Knowles and Josh Griffin, and they're sort of like a programming course that they have on YMU. And so I wanted to get our team thinking and talking about creative programming. And, that's actually a really, really high value for me, something that I care a lot about. In fact, it's one of the things that I talk about on my bonus Patreon Hybrid Heroes podcast every single week. Hey, quick break. Let me ask you a question. Are you still waking up every day as a youth pastor, scrambling to figure out what you need to post on your social media? Blurry dodgeball pic, a video that your leader sent you that's a little bit pixelated because iPhone still hasn't updated fully to RCS yet. You see, you don't need that kind of stress this fall. That's why I created the Fall Seasonal Social Media Pack for youth pastors. It is 3 months worth of done for you content. Done for you, paired with some customization so that you and your leaders and your students students are the faces and the personalities on your student ministry Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts feed. See, here's the thing. You can grab my pack right now over on Patreon. And did you know that monthly Hybrid Hero Patreon members who only pay $4 per month and get a bonus podcast, they get this pack completely for free. So if you do the math, for 3 months worth of social media content, it's only $12, where the pack is $17.99. Either way, it is a steal for you, and it will take away the stress of posting. And you can grab that pack right now and start becoming a master at social media and hybrid ministry in your youth ministry context. Rooting for you as you are crushing it this fall in your student ministry. So in addition to social media, in addition to programming like a pro, that is one of the things we're taking our team through. We are also then, after that, we're going to take them through the book Lead Small, which Lead Small is actually sort of like written as a job description for small group leaders. It's kind of meant to hand to small group leaders. It's a really quick and fun read. And so in the middle of sort of like our year, I dropped Lead Small on them because I think it's probably going to be the quickest of all the reads that they're going to have to do. And so we'll have a discussion. And that'll be really us thinking and strategizing as staff about how we can equip our small group leaders to continue to lean into some of the core kind of like 5 Lead Small principles. My friend Carrie Ray, who is over on staff at YM360, he's famous for saying like any youth pastor could have written this book. Orange just went ahead and did it. And once again, I know that there's some, stuff going on around with Orange, but the core principles of Lead Small, which are taken from Scripture, are also not, they haven't ceased to be relevant. And so they're still very useful to creating a good culture of relationships and connection and small group. And most youth ministries, I would argue, that are greater than 25 to 30, which is probably most of us, are going to need to have a pretty strong lead small culture, because you as a youth pastor can't provide care for greater than 30 students. And so you need to enlist small group leaders to help continue on in that care. It's a biblical principle. We see Jethro challenge Moses to do that when Moses is doing too much, and Jethro says, you need to delegate. And that's what we as youth pastors also need to do. Not because we don't care about students, not because we don't want to be in students' lives, but because we want to equip our small group leaders to be kind of the torch bearers for some of that shepherding and pastoral care. And so that's what the Lead Small principle is all about. The next thing, we're going back to YM University, and we're looking at family ministry. Just basically thinking like, how do we partner with parents? That's a core kind of like principle that all of us in youth ministry should care about. That's what Orange is kind of built off of, the church, and the church is, I think the church is red. The family is red because it's their heart and their love, and the church is yellow because like the light of God, but together they should make orange, right? And so it's partnering with families in your student and in your youth ministry. And so Youth Ministry University has a whole family ministry course. So we're going to watch that, and then we're going to discuss that as a team. This book right here is essentially my small group curriculum strategy guide. It is Sticky Church, written by Larry Osborne. And I read this book all the way back when I was an intern myself. And his whole premise is your church will grow when your small groups are sticky. So it's more than just lead small culture. It's what's the curriculum and what's the driving force within your small groups. And his premise is essentially you should do sermon, or whatever your main message is, sermon-based small groups. And some of you totally agree, which, if you are like a subscriber to Co-Leader, you understand that that's exactly like what it is. Like, you listen to the message and then you break into small groups to discuss it. In our context, we teach on one night, and then our small group curriculum is taught on a whole nother day and a whole nother calendar time of the week, which is similar to like a big church model, where if you go to church and then you have small groups that meet decentralized host homes throughout the community, and they're discussing the pastor's sermon, that's a similar sort of mindset. So this comes from I'm sure other people have this idea and this mindset, but I remember it first from Larry Osborne, and I found this book to be incredibly helpful and incredibly impactful. Towards the end of the year, we're finally going to get into the YM University Purpose-Driven Youth Ministry discussion. The only reason that this isn't higher, and the only reason that I don't recommend this sooner, is because we kind of did like the Knowing Him, which is going to be a ministry philosophy and a ministry purpose conversation and discussion. And so what I'm doing is I'm bringing this back around, bookending it at the end of the year. And the book, Doug, this book, phenomenal. I love this book. I was just trying to cut down on the reading, and I saw that there was a video course. And so we're going to go ahead and take our team through the video course and just kind of explore the 5 different purposes of the church, which again, we are already kind of like, Our team has a good understanding of that as it pertains to like Jesus' disciple-making pathway. Like those sections on the pathway often are tied to different purposes of the church. So this will be reiterating it and meshing into that way of thinking just from like a slightly different angle. So I'm really excited to bring this one back around. And then finally, the ultimate bookend, 4-Chair Discipling by Dan Spader, one of my all-time favorite books as well. He's the founder of Sun Life, and so just like we have 4 steps on our church's pathway, he has 4 chairs, and that it's going to pair really well with that Knowing Him and then that purpose-driven youth ministry discussion. I will give a nod, and the only other reason I didn't include this book for all youth pastors is this is like the GOAT of all youth ministry books, is Your First 2 Years in Youth Ministry. The only reason I didn't include it for our team is because as interns, they've all already gone through it and read it. And so I recommend that one as well, written by Doug Fields as well. Phenomenal and fantastic book. And so if you're in youth ministry, and if you're wondering, like, what do I do? How do I connect? Now, listen, you might be thinking, if you wrote that question, like, how do I connect with teens in like this new world? That you're like, these aren't that new of resources. And you're right. And maybe it's because I'm an old fuddy-duddy. Or I think that some of these things are tied to the Great Commission and are key to like some youth ministry, like purpose, which, purpose-driven youth ministry, 4-Chair Discipling, and Knowing Him are all like youth ministry strategy and church ministry strategy, doing and running church and making disciples like Jesus. And then within that, you got teaching and programming, so those are in there. And then finally, leading small groups, so you got lead small and you got sticky church. And then the last piece is how do we partner with parents, and that's why we included that family ministry piece. All of these things really help hopefully give a good holistic view of good youth ministry. And I've been in youth ministry for 15 years. These are some of the core things that have helped shape my thinking and some of what I do as well. And let me just say kind of one final piece, like if you're not a platinum member, you should become one, because they give you a conference registration ticket. And some of those DYM 100 roundtables conferences have been some of the most formative things to my youth ministry thinking and my health and my longevity in being a youth pastor for more than 15 years. So, hey, I hope you found this episode helpful. We're going to be answering some questions in the subsequent episodes. They'll be linked in a playlist, or you can tap the video that you see right here on screen. Hey, a subscribe or a like or a share would really mean the world to us if you found this episode helpful. But until next time, and as always, my friends, don't forget, stay hybrid.